traffic you mentioned there?
Exercise. Yeah. Yeah, they're looking up to 700 to 800 people this year.
Oh, well.
291 exercises, that's not too bad.
Yeah, we have to subsidize the farmers market because the society doesn't have money to give them.
Yeah.
Private enterprise.
Well, that was not private enterprise, what's we subsidize the other.
Businesses are, and should be.
Lori, can you hear me? For some reason, I can't hear any of you.
That's because we're still muted, Angie, but it's all good.
Can you hear us now?
I can, thank you.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Kyle.
Okay, thanks.
Or those headphones, whichever.
Maybe I feel like I should be standing above everybody.
Okay, so we'll call to order. At 8:35. Adoption, the agenda is presented. Counselor Thorough, all in favor? Carried. And if I don't hear a no from you, I'm gonna go with your approving.
Sounds good, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
You. Delegations, none,
No,
public presentations? No, come on. No. CEO report.
okay, Mr. Mayor, just a few things in my report, so. Still haven't got approval on the downtown project, it's very frustrating. I've expressed my frustration to them in the fact that this was not a competitive grant. The money was allocated to the region had agreed upon how it would be split up. And it should be very straightforward and simple. I know Mark's still with the grant for the roundhouse, still waiting too, so. Keep our fingers crossed, because I told them we can't wait too much longer or we won't be able to move forward with it in this construction year. And then you are going to have to extend the deadline if you want this project to be done, so continue to check up with them. I did have MPE, basically, told them to have everything tender ready, so as soon as we get notification, we can go. And I also told them to get everything finished for Pioneer and Palliser Trail road work. If this one falls apart, that we could maybe jump in on that one and get that project done in 24. So that's where that's at. The bridge, and we won't hear anything back probably until April or May, whether our grant was approved or not. Water sewer, still for 304 Railway Avenue, so where Quinn Templer's shop was, where the school division bought. So got some preliminary numbers, they were gonna double check them. And then we'll have to sit down and look at them and sit down and talk to the school division reps on their costs for that. The challenge is the water line ends approximately where Richard's shop is on Railway. So the water line would need to be extended to there. And then you get into the situation where if we're going to extend it and for potential looping down the road, then you would upsize it to be able to connect there, so then there would be some additional costs there. And then basically from what I can tell, they would then be required to put in the lift station either in their property that they could funnel their sewer to, that would then be pumped into a sewer line. And but we can't run the existing sewer line because the elevations are too shallow. So, and you were in that building, you know, that on the corner there. So working through that, it's close.
Even the dog block building to the north.
Yeah.
The lines are very shallow. Yeah. Goodness, it was a yearly freeze up.
But in the long run, investing in our community and giving in 2024, giving people access to plumbing, I think is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
For the long run.
Yeah.
So any other properties from Richards to Quinn's, is there anything
No.
else?
Nothing else.
So what are they doing? There's property that's north, there's a residence that's north of,
It's on First Ave.
That feeds off of First.
or does it, okay,
Yeah.
but everybody
that's-
else every other residential in that area has access to water sewer.
Yeah, because on Railway, you
Yeah.
go up and you hit
Yeah.
Richards and he's got almost a
Yeah, he's
block.
got the rest.
Yeah,
of
he's
the
got a
block.
block.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Quinn's
there's-
lots are most of a block, so,
Yeah. And then just another shop, just on the.
yeah.
On the west
Yeah.
side.
Community center, so I think we've shared with council that through Harvest Sky and then some of these excess money they had from Prairie's Can through their projects, they were able to invest it in the community center kitchen. So what's between February 20th and March 18th, the kitchen will be out of commission. Our crew will go in and remove the bottom row of cupboards and remove the equipment out. Co-op has been contracted to come in and remove the existing floor and put in a new flooring and baseboards. And then the equipment will come in. It's been ordered. It's gonna be ready to go, and they'll come in probably around 14th of March, and install the remaining stuff. So basically what will be there on the top cupboards are gonna stay, if you can picture the community center. The bottom cupboards will all be gone, and they'll be replaced with stainless steel tables, mobile tables that you can slide your dishes underneath. The island will be gone. It will be stainless steel mobile tables. And there will be a new fridge brought on the inside, and new grill, new dishwasher, new convection oven. So
Awesome.
we're hoping co-op is estimating a couple of weeks. If you remember, see that floor and you recall that floor, it's a small brick. So they're not sure how it's gonna come up. Whether it's gonna be easy or whether it's gonna be difficult, but so hopefully by the 18th or soon around there, the kitchen will be all new. I know it doesn't change the space of the community center or doesn't deal anything with the washrooms and lobby area, but we decided that, you know, while we had an opportunity, we should jump on it. So
And, excuse me, is that taking, all of the funds that Harvest Sky had available?
it should use up, my understanding, it will use up. They're also doing some work in Youngstown and their community center in the
Your
kitchen.
light, okay.
And I believe the Legion is getting a new grill through this process as well. So,
Good.
so I think, Councilor Bowden, that's my understanding, that would use up all of the excess money that Harvest Sky had through Prairies Camp.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting.
So,
We just. some.
on the solar project, I just have I know at the December 13th meeting, there were several questions and posed to PACE, and again, not going to validate or you know, any of the information they provided, but some of the information they provided, you see the screen. Well, sorry, you'll have to help me here.
Let me do that.
Okay, you'll see the screen, screenshot of the estimated taxes for the project. Again, that's not, I haven't validated that, don't know that's coming directly from them. That was one of the questions. The other information that was requested was they have met with our fire chief and Rob Palmer from Special Areas. They did meet and they have not signed off on any emergency response plan. I think David and Rob told them the questions they had, the concerns they had, and what they would like to see addressed. And they have not yet seen the emergency response plan back, but they did meet. Some of you may know the controversy or confusion around the public consultation portion, especially those within the 400 meter. Claude had indicated that Rhonda had door knocked on all of those and attempted to reach out to them. In hindsight, talking with Rhonda following that meeting, she indicated that she hadn't been.
But even if he had, it was on that report. It was
Yes.
on their presentation that they had done that
Yeah.
and they hadn't, yeah.
So she is now trying to make calls and trying to speak with everyone within that 400 meter that she could get numbers for. She reached out to me probably a week and a half ago with, I think, 4 names, wanting to know if we had could give them contact info. And I said I couldn't give them contact info, but I knew a couple of them personally.
Mhm.
So I would reach out to them and say that if they wish to talk to Rhonda, this is their number and call. I know one of them did, I don't know if the other has, so.
I know, since we own land right across from it, Steve was contacted and, left a message regarding since you've got land across from the Killam, solar farm, we'd like to discuss. with
Kill
you."
them.
Killam, like, they haven't even got the.
Yeah.
Like, that just reinforces the not complete incompetence, but
It's close.
Yeah.
like, if they can't get the information right to begin with, before it even, if it goes.
Yeah.
How can we trust anything that they say
Yeah.
as far as what they're, and at the end of the day, is the money worth putting, our airport at risk and any risk at all of jeopardizing fixed wing access?
So I know they're reaching out now before they
Because they
had,
got caught.
whether they are able to get a hold of everybody, I don't know. I'm speaking of the airport and the pilots had asked for a mechanical turbulence assessment. My understanding is that they had one completed, but it was not to the satisfaction of the pilots. It didn't meet what they were looking for. So they are having a second one done. Same company, Jet Pro, but they're having a second one done that would be hopefully meet what the pilots were looking to. I believe they've got the final solar glare hazard assessment report completed, or if it's not completed, it will be complete because they have set a meeting, I think, the end of February with the pilots to go through the final glint and glare analysis report. So I know in Rhonda's email, she wanted to reiterate that they've been trying to work with the pilots and address their concerns. And the other issue the other question too was about any solar farms adjacent to an uncontrolled airport, and she has indicated she hasn't been able to find any examples. The only other question I think that was asked and provided was Counselor Kroll wanted the information on the environmental consultants used by PACE in this project. So there's a bio on Rhonda Milliken, and then their team that has been working on the other parts of the environmental assessments. So I know Councillor Kroll wished to have contact information. So I've followed up with them to see if they can provide me their contact information. I believe Councillor Kroll would like to speak with them.
Mhm.
So,
Confirm that they're active.
so I haven't got their contact information. I know I went on their website and there's a contact number, a general contact number, so I'm waiting for that. But was there any other questions that were asked that have not been sort of addressed? That jump out at anybody?
Yeah, I don't-
A lie detector test would be a really good one.
I haven't talked to Claude since shortly after the last meeting. Haven't actually heard much from him at all, so. So that's it for PACE. The other thing I just want to add is I have been able to rent out the 2 office spaces in the west side building.
Oh, good.
So Brandy was meeting with a prospective chamber member who expressed interest looking for a space. So she does reflexology on I believe the head, the neck, and the feet, I believe. She lives up in the Scapa area. So the board, Brandy discussed that with the chamber board at their last meeting, and they gave support to allow having that there, so I've got an agreement with her for a space starting February 1st. And Mark Dakota and Harvest Sky Economic Development are going to move into that space effective March 1st. So between the three, we'll now be able to generate $900 a month, so close to where we were when Reality Bites was in there. Pardon me?
Cover the expenses.
So I think that's good, and hopefully between the three of them, they're able to make things flow. I know the chamber's only a couple days a week. Mark's probably the most regular of them all. And then the reflexology lady, my understanding, could be some evenings and weekends too, so.
And there will be, I'm
Sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
will they be subleasing through the chamber
No,
or just
they're
renting
directly
directly? to them?
from us.
That's great.
Brandy and I did talk about subleasing through the chamber, but I told her that if you did that, then if something goes sideways, it's on the chamber.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And probably best that it stays directly with us, so.
Sorry.
That's okay. We met with the lady
Yeah.
and she seems quite
Pleasant,
nice,
yeah.
I guess, yeah. And my understanding is like perhaps Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so kind of alternate days from the chamber. And then at some evenings, maybe weekends or whatever, it all
Yeah.
depends on.
All depends on her clientele and how busy she can be, so.
Yeah, so she's coming, I think, from Vancouver. They relocated out this
Yeah.
way and.
Nice.
So the other thing in that building that we're doing, so the middle two offices needed some work in terms of some mudding and painting, so we're doing that right now. Our crew is doing that, so we'll have them all freshly painted and ready to go, so. That's
Thank you.
all I have. Mr. Mayor, is there any questions on anything else? Okay. Want me to just roll into
Just
the?
roll on, buddy.
Okay, so I just wanted to, Counselor Murphy had talked about the building condition assessment reports. And that was on us. We should have brought it back sooner. But I just wanted to spend a little time going through the reports. So council understands what's in there, what might be coming forward. So MP did the study. We had them do basically 6 buildings. The arena, curling rink, pool is one. Centennial Place, Community Center, Fire Hall, Public Workshop, and Town Office. We were working within the $50,000 budget we had. We got a grant for $40,000 from FCM, but we had a project of 50. So we did the infrastructure management study update and this, so we couldn't do all of our buildings and fit it within the scope, but we did probably the biggest ones and the ones that might have the most use and potential issues. So I'll just scroll through the report. So we'll start with the arena curling rink report. Let's see here, I did underfight. So they break it down into different sections on each report. So the structural architectural review. So I think council's aware that building was constructed in the early 80s. Was constructed not maybe the best when it was first built, and they had to put some reinforcing piles or posts in the middle of the arena. Some of the things here that I've highlighted that are big ticket items, and we'll know that will be whether it happens, probably not in your term, but will have to happen. So it has a tar and gravel roof. We've done some repairs to the tar and gravel roof over the years, but it has not been redone or replaced from its original state. So that's a big ticket item. It talks about cracking between the arena and curling rink block walls. We know that for a number of years after it happened, MPE had monitored the cracks. And for 10 or 15 years, there was no significant movement. So we stopped monitoring those cracks. Our staff will look at it visually, but doesn't have any immediate concerns. They talk about barrier-free access throughout the buildings. I think we're probably in good shape in the arena pool because those are newer washrooms. The ones that definitely are not barrier-free are the curling rink lounge washrooms. And I guess they're probably not barrier-free because it's not barrier-free to even get up to the lounge because there's no elevator. The curling club looks after the lounge and they renovated the washrooms 2 or 3 years ago, but they are very tiny and you're not moving a wheelchair or anything in there, so. So mechanical, again, a lot of the components in the system have reached their life expectancy. Electrical review, one of the things as we go through, you'll see a fair bit on the electrical review, primarily because they're 45 years old, panels saying if they fail, you're not gonna be able to find a part for that particular piece. They've been functioning well and fine, so they haven't been on our radar, but that was something that came through that I hadn't even thought of, so. Fire alarm system works, it's inspected every year. According to them, it's obsolete, but it does, and we may not be able to find replacement parts, but it continues. Total cost summary, as you see, through the 15 years, just over 1.1 million. Their expected building replacement costs, pretty general, about $10 to $20 million. To replace that building.
I don't think you do.
I don't think you'd do it for that either.
Let's just go with it.
So.
I think you could add those two numbers together and still be short.
Yeah, so if you look at, we'll just kind of go through some of the particular, that was just an overview. So on the site, conditions, when you look at the rating, basically 1 through 5, 5 being excellent, 1 being critical. You'll see throughout the report, I don't know if you'll see, I don't believe there's any ones. Oh, there's a few ones.
Later on.
But they're very minor. And there is a few 2s, but most are in the 3, 4, 5s. So again, we talked about cracking in the arena wall. That was listed there. Everything else in terms of general site is good. Parking lots, sidewalks, good. Overall structure, again, concrete slab. That's one thing they did not do, and that's one of the bigger concerns I have with the arena curling rink is the heating cooling floor that the ice is made on. It's original, and of course, it's got all kinds of lines running in the slab and through the slab. And I know when I was in Stony Plain, we replaced on the arena in 2006, and it was about $1 million. And it was the arena was a 1967, so. So that's one, they did not do, at the arena, they did not do an inspection of that or the ice plant, but everything else. So concrete slab, the arena concrete floor and curling concrete floor for their age have held up very well. You don't see any significant cracks in them in the summertime, when there's no ice on them. Again, we talked about the concrete block walls. Roof, we talked about, again, they're estimating $825,000 to, put a new roof on that building. The outdoor pool section has obviously a newer roof and it has the SBS, it's not tar and gravel. The other things I highlighted here, they've got doors are starting to show their age. Well, when our doors fail, we replace them. So we replace the door by the north, I call it the north exit door by the ice plant. So we've been replacing them as we need to.
But the holes in the wall, I think they should be fixed.
That's on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that one closer. I don't even know exactly where it is.
Yeah, because like you say, the water and that gets it,
Yeah.
you're in trouble, so that's stuff that should be done as soon as possible.
Is that on the community center or is that?
No, that's on.
This is all in the arena
Yeah,
currently.
I know, I remember seeing that.
There's a picture of a stucco on the outside of the
Yeah,
community
that's,
center.
I didn't see anything on that.
The other,
About, sorry,
Yeah.
about the roof. So a tar and gravel roof, the 825 is replacement to tar and gravel again.
I would assume it would be to SMS. I don't think they do tar and gravel very often anymore.
We had,
retorch it and retar it? Yeah.
we had our roof redone and it was a tar and gravel at the roundhouse and they have different material and it was sort of a compost of, tar and like a melting or whatever, but it was all, heated on, it was
It's
melted
like a
on.
rolled asphalt
Yeah.
shingle,
And
yeah.
then there was another layer
SMS.
that was rolled on as well and heated, and it had kind of the grit and similar to the gravel effort. And, yeah, so that was done. So it's a similar type of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure, I can't answer Councilor Murphy whether that was, I'm assuming it's not as a tar and gravel again, but,
So I would assume it might.
Looks like they'd be.
Yeah, similar to that.
Place.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, floor materials and finishes, I think they picked a few things that maybe are, I think for the most part in the arena, the finishes are fine, flooring's fine. Curling rink, I know they have a picture down below of millwork, well, that's the millwork in the lounge. In the, I guess the room beside the lounge, so it's probably 1980 vintage, but does the purpose. No other real concerns in terms of materials and finishes, everything's floors. We had a 2 for barrier-free access. The picture that you see there is the curling rink lounge washroom. And we scroll through mechanical condition again, mostly 3s, 4s. We've got 2s. And again, it's the way the building was built, it's just partially sprinkled. It's not totally sprinkled, so, in a perfect world, if you were doing a renovation, you might extend that, sprinkler coverage, but when the building was constructed, that wasn't required, so.
I was under the impression the federal government had some grants available to assist in making barrier-free access for communities. Is that still
Well,
the case?
The one grant we applied for at the community center.
Yes.
Was called the Green and Inclusive Building Grant, so the 2 priorities for that grant were obviously reducing energy consumption as well as upgrading, making it more inclusive and welcoming, and that's the one we haven't been successful with, so. But yeah, there is some funding out there in that regard. Don't think there's anything else too noteworthy there. They talk about hot water tanks, storage tanks, so we basically, as they fail, we've been replacing them. Furnaces, the same thing. We haven't, they're not aged furnaces, they've been replaced in their lifespan, but I don't believe we've replaced any in the last 10 years. Ventilation requires, they mentioned this on the outside air for the concession. I think we get plenty of outside air with that door opening and closing continuously, but we don't have an outdoor makeup air unit to serve it, but I do think there's plenty of outside air coming in through the building. Not much else here that I noted. They had one of our hot water tanks at that time was 2004. Maybe that's the one we replaced recently. But as I said, we don't replace them until they start to fail. Same with furnaces, as we talked before. There's some pictures of the roof, not great on the screen, but lots of gravel coverage still on the roof. This one, I'm not sure what we're gonna do until somebody tells us we need to do something, but That's in the newer part of the building, that's in the pool. Pool extra room, I think they call it. So again, there's 5 shower heads, but there's only one drain in the building, and now that's not to code because each shower head should have its own drain. So that, water from somebody that's washed off somebody isn't gonna run through somebody else's feet, so. That's just something they pointed out there. Again, hot water tanks, heat, pool is obviously newer, 2006. So not as much on that end. Electrical is where we get into some of the comments, and I don't know if you guys remember on our tour where the big electrical panel is up above the ice plant room. So they're basically be difficult to find replacement parts for that is what they're saying. So if something starts to fail on there, you're gonna have to be looking at an entire system, so. The other thing they've identified here, on our fire and smoke alarm system, so no horn or strobes signaling in the arena. They weren't required when it was built, so. We have a strobe in there for ammonia.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's a stroke.
We put that in, after the Fernie incident, so if there is an ammonia leak on the plant, it will detect and it will put strobe lights on in both arena and curling rink to tell people to evacuate to the south. Again, fire alarm, it's obsolete, still works. Quite often, this is where we got some ones, power service surge protection that they recommend we put, some protection equipment in. That's pretty much in all our buildings, they say. A lot of our sub panels, again, the same thing, they're obsolete, might be hard to find replacement breakers. Lights have all been replaced with LEDs, telephone system. VoIP, it's good. Again, curling rink, no horn strobe signaling. Don't know if I had anything else there. Obviously, the curling rink will be in the same situation in terms of their electrical panels. The sub panels, but I think everything else is either a 3 or up. Throughout, security systems, they've noted a few times, and that was a question I had for Lori. I believe the security systems are not ours. Would they be our contractors
In the arena?
in all our facilities?
I don't understand. the
So
question.
when I say the security system, so the stuff Aztec has in our buildings.
Yeah.
That is theirs, or that is ours?
I know in my shop, it's mine.
It's
Okay.
ours, I believe.
It's ours, okay. But again, we've not had any issues with them.
And I'll tell you right
Yeah.
now, it's obsolete 5 minutes after you put it in.
Yeah, if it needs updates. it can-
Well, it is, I mean,
Yeah.
the newest and greatest is.
Yeah. So that's the arena. Again, that's our biggest facility, probably our most costly facility in terms of, looking at it and looking at its age. That we have to be cognizant of moving forward. Pardon me?
What security?
Well, no, we have to be careful. So this part, they're talking more about the pool because it's 3 and they combined into one building,
Yes,
so.
okay.
We only have the security system in the pool side, so.
I haven't ever turned the alarm off or anything.
So Centennial Place, as you
Just
know,
one thing,
yeah.
with the, arena. And I don't know what the answer is, so I do apologize.
No, that's
I
fine.
hate coming with a question without an answer, but, that slope from the parking
Yeah.
lot down into the arena is,
It's
it's like,
hazardous.
yeah,
I don't know if we can, of course, as you get older, I find I.
use the sidewalk.
Well, I use the sidewalk or I go over to the, west and then come along the front of the arena. And I'm wondering if that's maybe not something we should do. I know there's been one broken ankle there over the years since I've been here. I wonder if that's not something we should look at, maybe putting I don't know.
Handrail or something.
Railing to either something to hold on to come down, and I know it's a pain in the ass to maintain around it. But, or we just put a railing across it and direct them to the sidewalk
Block
or
them.
block them off.
Yeah.
Like I said, I shuffle like a penguin coming down the hill there, but it's
Well,
slippery.
and the other bad part about that too is the storm drains, right?
It's
the
right at the
bottom.
bottom,
yeah.
right? So I
Guys,
mean,
do you-
any new runoff we get just adds another layer to the surface, so.
Yeah, again, bad design.
Oh,
when
terrible
you built the
design.
building, you know, again, you build the lower bowl under the ground, so everything's level, but then the parking lot's higher than your entrance doors and I think those that are, my thought is those that are really concerned about the traction, definitely use the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, no, every once, it seems like not every time you go, every couple times you go, there's somebody
Yeah,
slip sliding away down the slope. And you
Yeah.
kind of,
yeah, no, there's no
I don't know
doubt.
how you can get steps to come down to gradually get to the,
yeah, with the steps and the hockey bags and stuff like that, I don't know, steps.
on a
are-
rail and
Yeah,
stuff.
and then we lose accessibility, right? So, like I said, I think we could direct them to either the west or to the sidewalk.
We can try, no one's gonna, that's one of the things.
Oh, no,
It's
it's,
just like when people talk to me about putting in a crosswalk at the post office.
yeah,
Yeah, no one's
Yeah.
gonna walk 20 feet to the crosswalk to
well,
cross.
we
They're
have three,
just
we
gonna
have three
cross.
crosswalks of the block to the west or east of us there, it's, people still cross jaywalk on it, so.
So no, it is definitely an issue with the design. Centennial Place, again, pretty much in good shape. It is one of our newer buildings. They do have an error in here. I just noticed it wasn't constructed in 2014. It was constructed in 2011. It was open, so. Basically, it's pretty good. There's, as you look at the 15-year cost summary is $25,000, which I think is low, but,
How does their addition work? Electrical is 5,000 and they have total is 2,500?
yeah, I don't know. Well, they've got that based over. Yeah, they've got 21.5 and 2,500,
No, they have.
but yeah, that's 5,000. There's an error there.
So
It should
maybe
be
there's
5.
error in that.
Under electrical, it should be 5, the bottom there, the total right here.
Yeah.
Probably did that building last one. Oh, it's so new. It's all good.
But it's, like I said, there's nothing really that jumps out. Everything is probably 4s or 5s. I don't know if I even highlighted much here, through the building. Just scrolling through it. See, that would be a picture of FBS roofing.
Mhm. That's what ours looks like.
Yeah. Again, nothing there. Again, they recommended a power surge protection. I think that's the only thing that was less than a 4. Oh, there's a 3 on security systems. We don't have a security system in the building. We do have some cameras that are obsolete. But we don't have a security system. It's the,
It's the same as in the pool, it's just.
yeah, we have a security system for our staff because they're working alone, so there's a fob they can press that will ring to the alarm company to notify the police.
Do you have a camera that overlooks the parking lot area? Or
No.
not?
We're looking at that in the budget. We've got some money for camera work. Councilor Olson will know our cameras there were put in when the building was built and, not even sure if I would say they're 100% working, so.
Different.
But they were put in more for monitoring, like they're not cameras that people would watch.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I mean for security.
Yeah. At least they're gonna, you know, post it, so they are
Yeah.
functional.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we have a weird building there and how we allow access to the building. I've never been comfortable with, but I don't know a better solution. We're not going to man it more hours, primarily because of the fitness center component.
And we're not unique. Viking has the exact.
Do they,
same-
that they just let,
Yeah, Yeah, Mikey has the exact same scenario. I was up there for hockey provincials a few years ago. And of course, I'm early to the arena to make sure everything is up to speed and stuff. And I get there like 3 hours before the game to do my walk around, and there's guys on the track and guys in the gym, and I'm just going, how do you get in here? So I asked the rink, and they would say they have similar to ours, they have different levels of access, and you have to take an orientation on the fitness equipment before you have access to the fitness room. And then you have an access to the walking track, which is a difference. And yeah, I know Mikey does the same thing with theirs, and theirs is all in the arena, so.
Yeah, so,
It'll be fine until you
100%,
have
yeah.
a sexual assault,
Wow.
or something. Because of the access is so, and then we'll change it, but.
that is one of the weaknesses, you're
It's
no
definitely
doubt.
Well, even vandalism and such.
Yeah,
too.
and knock on wood, we
There's
haven't
all
had
around
any,
there that-
knock on wood, and I think if that happens.
But the cards to enter are tied to an individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can always track.
Try who's,
Who was
who's
in?
entering and exiting,
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
the person with that card is
Yeah.
essentially responsible for who's
Yeah.
entering.
It would be kind of nice, just given we have, more and more transients and just society and all that business. It would
Yeah,
be
so it
nice
is
to have
something
some
we're
protection,
Gonna look at,
Because who's
Start
gonna be
with
liable
cameras.
if there is something that happens?
Start with the cameras and then
Yeah.
work through.
Yeah, and just as a security thing, not to watch.
right, no,
No,
But-
that's great.
But if it's needed, then you can,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the RCMP, can check with some of the
Yeah.
businesses as they're leaving, and it would be nice to have.
Mikey is both, yeah.
yeah,
Cause that's definitely.
so not much at Centennial Place, community center. Excuse me, one of our older facilities, again, built in the early eighties. Stuff that I highlighted here. We know the metal roof is, getting to its limit. We have had issues with it leaking before. We did have some repairs on it a few years ago. And that's solidified it, so we're not having the leaking, but definitely it's probably one of the bigger ticket items there in terms of something to watch out for as we move forward. Again, weather stripping, doors, door hardware are all approaching the end of their service life. Some of the exterior lights will need to be replaced, so they're all LED. The only lights, and I've had Kevin turn them off. I don't know why they were put there, but those of you who know the community center well, there's the big floodlights that are on the roof that I said, turn them off. I don't think we have a reason to have them on, so those would be the only lights that aren't LED on the exterior. So again, not huge costs. You add them up over time, $500,000 over 15 years. And some of those, as we get forward, would be stuff in the kitchen, so that we'll be dealing with, so.
there is some stuff on the outside there with ice problems.
Yeah, I don't know what we do with
you
that
want to do.
either, but the drains that come down,
Cause all the drains are flat as a pancake.
people step on
Yeah,
them.
and, just
Yeah.
removed from the other day there, and some of the guys that were bringing stuff in, and all of a sudden, whoop.
It's a tough one, and it's the same even with this building
Built
here.
ground level.
Yeah,
Where do you
where do you push
Where do
the
you
water?
direct the runoff to? So. So, yeah, no, it's an issue. If
Yeah.
somebody has a good idea, we're definitely open to it, so.
But the whole thing is how to get it over to the, down
Yeah.
where the trees are.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah. No question about that.
Well, unless you collect it, and then it just freezes.
Yeah.
yeah,
So again, the general site conditions are all good. The overall structure's good. Again, we talked about the roof. Exterior walls, as mentioned, there, we do have a hole in the stucco there we need to get fixed. We talked earlier about doors, weather stripping, hardware. Again, they're all functional, they all work. If the doors aren't working, we get them fixed. Again, some of the windows older, could be replaced. I'm not aware of the water damage in the small meeting room having a leak out. Somehow I'll have to follow up with Kevin, but again, barrier-free accessibility about this, our washrooms are fairly limited if you've got a walker or a wheelchair or anything. They're probably, I'm gonna say this not knowing for sure, they're probably somewhat functional, but they're very tight and you have to know what you're doing to be able to maneuver in and out, so.
And that was code. That was code when it was built.
Yeah. If we did any major renos to it, we would have to bring it up to code. Trouble bringing it up to code, then you lose stalls or urinals, because you're gonna need more space, but, it did meet code. At the time, still does, so interior structure, all floors, across the board, not any concerns there. Mechanical, we'll get into, not too much there, but we'll run into some things again, on panels. But everything's at least a 3 or a 4. When furnaces fail, we replace them. When hot water tanks fail, we replace them.
Well, and the heat. I have been to many stage Hannas, fantastic production, freezing because it's -30 outside. And it could take 2 days to heat.
It takes a while, and that's one of the challenges we get when it's really cold.
Yeah.
Really hot.
Or really.
Or really hot, because the doors come in, everything filters in, so people go out to have their smoke or go out for a break. And they come in, and if it's 30 below, that 30 below just filters right into the hallway, and same in the summer.
Is that forced air there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
No,
it does take a while
Yeah,
to heat up
recover.
or cool.
It's better, I think, with the new.
We've got some new thermostats
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
definitely better, but it's still not state of the art by any stretch
No.
of imagination.
No,
And don't let people play with them.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
So here's a picture of the grill that will be replaced, so,
That girl come out of the hospital.
oh, did it? It wasn't even new when it went
It
in?
wasn't new. when it
Okay.
came in.
So it's service well.
Yeah,
Oh, it
It
has.
definitely did.
It was
fire
in the
alarm,
hospital
fire
for
alarm.
There's
a few
food out
years.
of there.
still can get parts, but again, it's something that would
Yeah.
be getting aged.
Yeah.
Power protection. The good thing here, when I read through the electrical here, was the panels are a Commander brand, which means nothing to me, but according to MP, they're compatible with Eaton breakers and
Yeah.
there should be sufficient. This other one, bottom though, main fuse is square D and still being manufactured, so it means nothing to me,
Well,
but.
square D is still being manufactured.
Okay,
I get
so-
square D in all the time.
Yeah, okay. Again, so all of those, even though it's interesting, because they were built at a very similar time,
Yeah.
to the arena, but,
Different
Contractor
contractors.
preference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, the risk is low. If I
Yes,
say 3
yeah.
or 2 or whatever,
Yeah.
but the risk
It's
is
actually
low.
interesting because I have 3 electrical contractors that have stuff coming through my shop. And 2 of the 3 are very similar in product. And the third one is the same type of product, but a different supplier.
okay.
And I've asked them a couple of different times, and it's just preference.
Yeah. This pictures shouldn't be there. We have no security system in the community center. That is in the town office, so.
Maybe they'd like it.
Yeah. Now we're into, I skipped through faster to Fire Hall. Again, a fairly new building. 2011 building, so it's, not a ton here. As I highlighted, the roof access ladder, I haven't checked. It's not according to them, it wasn't good condition. And, there are no snow guards on the metal roof.
Well, now it's the same when Curlin and Command, they needed that access ladder.
yeah, yeah, said that too,
And
yeah.
the whole thing I find with that is it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah, no.
school finds that out with everybody who getting on the roof and partying and.
Yeah. But again, not a ton of stuff because it's a fairly new building. $300,000 over a 15-year period. Again, expected building replacement cost 4 to 7. I think they're probably in the ballpark there. But I don't think in any of our time here we'll be seeing a new new fire hall being built, or when you're in council, unless you're gonna set a record for term on council. So, but again, mostly 5s, 4s. I highlighted this one just to kind of to bug my fire chief, because since the building was built,
Yeah.
he's dreamed of having the parking lot paved, so, but that they got that in their report. I don't think David talked to them when they did this, so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I don't think he did, but if he would have said that. Again, snow guards, access ladder, nothing else on the exterior. 4s and 5s. Mechanical, again, being a fairly new building, 4s and 5s across the board. Electrical, again, there's no,
Emergency lighting was a 3 and a high.
yeah, they've got a 3 every year, but they're just saying that batteries need to be replaced
Yeah.
every 3 to 5 years, so. And then security system, so there isn't one currently installed. And door access, there is door access, but I'm not sure what they refer to as door access here. But other than that, the fire hall's pretty straightforward. Public Works, again, an older building, larger building. But it's, and I think there was a statement in here somewhere that it was built very well and with
Oh,
quality
yeah. Being a provincial
equipment and
building.
quality materials.
Yeah, it was.
But there are some things I've highlighted overhead doors and man doors. Yeah, but they are old. They were old. Our overhead doors on the north bay have been replaced. On the south bay, we haven't.
Yeah, the back.
The south bay, we didn't, but we've had somebody come through, and I think Big Country just came through and tightened seals, and we have the odd repair that needs to be made on them, but we have not replaced the south doors, partly because we get a fair bit of south exposure there, and we keep that area cooler anyways, so again, mechanical, boiler system controls, they work well. We've had them serviced, work well, but big boiler in that building. So electrical, again, 1987, replacement parts may be difficult to come by, again, depending what brand they used at the time. So this basically over a 15-year period are looking at close to $1 million in repairs, replacements. And a building, again, they put an estimated building cost of 10 to 20 million, so.
Not bad mistake, but
Yeah,
What did we pay for it? Do you remember?
we had a net, no, there was a net of,
Because you swapped out the
we
other.
swapped out the other buildings, so there
Yeah.
was a net cost of 550,000, I believe, to the town.
the package was 1.6, was it not?
No, I think we purchased it for we purchased it for 5, I believe it was 550 cash plus the old shop,
That's the
so
old shop.
I think that was estimated at around 300,000. So probably the loss of that land plus the cash related out was about 850, so.
So considering the replacement value, you did good.
Yeah, no, I think we
It's
wouldn't
a
have
beautiful building.
done anything. It was built well, lots of space, which is great. Like I said to people think it's so big, and I said, the only thing we probably would have done differently if you were starting from scratch is we didn't need all that office
Yeah.
administration part in the middle. That could have been smaller, if it was us starting from scratch, building our own, so.
Well, and the space around it as well.
Yeah.
You know, if city development or something.
Yeah, there was
That'd still be an
about
option
20,
as
there's
well.
about 20 acres there that, is the town's, and there was at one point in time. Some very preliminary discussions about you could create an industrial. Area there and subdivide off, you know, an acre or two parcels there, if there was a need for it, so. But there is about 20 acres in site in total, so
And there's plumbing and sewage and all that.
wet water sewer, yeah,
Nice.
all town, we actually, you know where the lift station is, the main one at the VIC.
Yeah.
So this is downstream from there, but it ties into the main as the main goes to the lagoon, so. So again, surprisingly, a general site conditions, mostly fours, which is good. Overall structure again, fours, roof. Might have to be replaced. It is a tar and gravel roof. We have had one spot that had some leaking on, we had fixed a few years ago. I was actually, when we bought it, went up, and I'm not a roofing expert, but when I went up on the roof, I was quite impressed with the amount of gravel still on the roof, but, roof would be pushing 25, 40 years, somewhere in that ballpark, so that would be a big ticket item. Other than that, again, fours across the board on the exterior. Again, we talked earlier, doors, the original doors, we do get them tightened up and sealed, but they are probably not the highest insulation doors, maybe they were at the time,
Oh, yeah.
but, nothing major there. Again, mechanical, everything is working well. It is older, but it is working well. So there's no issues there. Again, the hot water heating system, you can see the boilers there. It's a big system. So we have, our plumbers come out and service it annually, make sure it's running well. We've done some stuff, even with the stuff with Johnson Controls. We've changed some controls. I think when it was owned in between, the province and the town, the owners did some repairs and maintenance on some of the systems themselves and maybe didn't do it the best way and proper way, so we've fixed most of that up as we've moved through it. So it's running well. It gets inspected because it's a boiler, it gets inspected annually by the boilers branch. Again, manual and exhaust systems, that's in the south bay, sorry. Probably is a very antiquated system.
But it
Yeah.
works.
It works, controls and components are past their life expectancy in a lot of cases. The air handling unit, we haven't been doing anything with that big air handling unit. It basically remains off. And then, again, that's one of the controls in the hot water system, so. Again, distribution equipment, established in '87, probably for, it looks like from an obsolete manufacturer, but, seems to be a bit of a trend with some of our older buildings. Security system, again, here's modern, well, we took it over, what, we've probably been in there 6, 7, time flies, 8 years? You guys were on council, right?
Yeah.
So 5 years.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. No. I won't touch it.
What year was this built then, again? Was it?
I think it was built in 2005,
Yeah, I don't.
3 to 5, I think. Thanks, Lori. So flat roof is one of the concerns in this building. The other concern that I have is our heating system. Again, I don't know what the best solution is. We have 5 electric fired.
Oh, it's all electric.
It's all electric. All of them are up in the attic space. And there is no gas service to the building, so. If you put a gas service to the building, based on the building, you'd probably have to put rooftop units up to service the building, and I don't know how inexpensive that would be. The system still works. I don't know why they chose to go with electric heat. My assumption is back in that period of time, natural gas was really expensive. It was like back in those days, it was 10, 12 cents a gigajoule, and that might have been the determining factor. So that would be something to look forward down the road. There's a bit of an error. Our interior lighting has been replaced with LEDs. Not correct. We replaced all of the lights that are on 24 hours a day to LED. And then we have replaced probably since then another 8 to 10 that when the ballast went out, we switched to LED, but these lights are all fluorescent. Majority of the lights you would see would be fluorescent in the building, so.
The parking area in the front, you got the sidewalk and
drainage,
the
yeah.
water really pools in
Yes.
there and it's a
Yeah.
sheet of ice.
Yeah.
I've watched a few people slide their way to the door. That's not listed in here, but that's a serious concern.
Yeah, it's I've always been a little hesitant to go and replace a new sidewalk, a new curb when we got, because people go, you're fixing the town office, you're not fixing my street. We've tried to, but the slope, there's not enough slope. The water comes around here and has to come around from Main Street,
Yeah,
around the corner, down past onto Third Ave and around the corner to the catch basin. So there's not enough slope there and it just sits there.
sits
So
there. Yeah.
yeah. So again, not a ton of significant costs over the next 15 years, 180,000. And again, they're estimating 3.5 to 7.5 to build a similar building. This was bought for 1.1 million back in 2012, 13 was when the town made the deal, but town didn't move into 17 until their new building was built. So I know here there was some controversy about that back in that day, but I think it's been a great building. We've been in it since 2015 or 17. I get the dates mixed up, and all that we really did in this building is replace the flooring, the carpet, not all of the flooring, but the carpet and a new phone system, and basically that's all we've done in here. So I don't think it needs paint, but Lori and I have that debate, so. So other than that, it's in, like I said, it's in pretty good shape. I do have some, we talked a little bit about the drainage in the front. We've talked about the arches that come down are a real pain. There is no snow guards on them. So our guys, when they get a chance, before they clean the sidewalk, they'll take the rake and they'll knock all the snow off. Sometimes they get busy and they don't get a chance. And if we get a heavy snow, and then it starts to warm up, all of a sudden it feels like an avalanche. All of a sudden you're chunk of on onto the sidewalk. So not aesthetically good, but not real handy. And we've talked about, all the rain will come off of there onto how can you direct it? We've talked about putting an eaves trough on the end,
Yeah.
but then where do you run the eaves trough out? that isn't gonna be in people's way, so. So it's nice, but it's a bit of a challenge. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. Again, we talked snow racks. Other than that, everything looks like it's a generally at least a 4. 4 or 5s when we get into mechanical. Again, this one I look at Kyle and I look at Lori. So we have our server room in the back corner there. We don't there is an old air conditioning unit there. We don't use it. So it runs off of the building air conditioner. I think never been brought to my attention that that room gets too warm because of the equipment that's in there, that we should look at having,
That's because the door.
we leave the door open
we
and,
left open.
and I don't think maybe we have less equipment or servers
It's never felt.
thing in there, so.
No, with the door, it's fine.
Yeah.
Without, with the door closed, which they would close and lock the door with the previous,
It might get warm in
there
there.
was no airflow in there, so.
Okay. So we haven't done anything there, but like I said, I'd never seen that as an issue. And that's the end of the report. I know that was quick. You have the report you can go through. My comment overall would be that generally things are in fairly decent shape. I do, and I've said this concern to many people, one of the biggest concerns I would have for the longer term future would be the arena curling rink. And this is my theory, that as smaller communities get to the stage where they require a new facility, the old one's been condemned or it's not gonna work, that you may see the reduction of the number of those types of facilities in the province. You know, I can't speak for Delia or Morn or any of those, but if their arena was condemned and needed to be shut down, it would be a monstrous accomplishment to try and build something new. And we talked about the cost to build the arena curling rink. I'm guessing 30-40 million, and that number scares me. But,
Unless they can get help from the province or something, but.
oh, you'd have to 100%, you'd have to have significant dollars from,
Or corporate,
or,
kind of corporate
yeah,
fundraising.
but I
New facility in, Provost, was built with primarily corporate.
was it?
Yeah, and it was 35 million. It's state of the art.
Yeah.
It's basically a scaled down, Brooks, the new facility at Brooks, it's just a scaled down version. That was a walking track and everything. It's a beautiful facility. But at that point in time, Crescent Point Energy was up in the area and, I believe it was 5 million a year for 5 years.
Oh, really?
Is what it's the Crescent Point Center, which
Yeah,
Yes,
it should be.
same as the Dow in Fort Saskatchewan.
yeah. Yeah, but I look at, I look at it and I look at our, even the town's borrowing ability, we have 0 debt. But we would be allowed to borrow up to $8 million, which would be 20% of this facility, so. But I
You just don't want to.
but I think it's in great shape and I'm not, good shape. And the town has taken time over the years to replace things as they need to be replaced and, so I don't see there being anything in the short term that would have to happen, so.
And the
Many
maintenance
of
staff have maintained it to the point where really truly, if you don't have that, it would be in such poor condition, but it's really been well maintained.
Well, a little bit of that and a little bit of councils over the years allocating the dollars to do what needs to be done.
Well, the arena ice thing that you said is original,
The flooring,
the flooring.
yeah,
That's something we could potentially go out and try and get corporate funding and then their logo goes in the middle and they pay their.
possibly. The one good thing, and I know it's not enough, the one good thing that we've been moving forward with council, since we paid the last payment on Centennial Place, so we have been putting that $90,000 away. So I know it takes time, but in 10 years, that's close to $1 million. So you can do some stuff there, and that's why it's important to keep putting some dollars away.
Yeah.
So when you need to replace the flooring, or you need to replace a roof, you've got a good portion of that already built up that you're not going to have a huge impact to the taxpayer at that time, so. Any further questions? Yeah.
Well, with some of the smaller expenses, is that gonna be addressed?
Yeah,
Like the
Yeah.
ones that need to be, like
Yeah.
just the regular maintenance?
Yeah.
Added to the regular.
Yeah.
maintenance and such.
anything else?
Okay, so can we get a motion to thank administration for the building condition assessment reports? Assessment information, Councilor Murphy, all in favor? Here,
Thank you, that's awesome. Thank you.
So what do I need to do now with we're going back to the package, right?
It's just the second tab, the tab.
Okay, I see it now. I just scared to touch anything.
You're good.
Okay. So we're through all of this. Oh, this is gonna take a while this way.
page 144.
You can go to your bookmark too.
Oh, you guys.
Listen to me talk all technical, eh?
There you go there.
Or I go here, the long hard way, okay. So advertising, I'm gonna turn it over to Lori. At this point, she's got an idea she'd like to present to you, how we move forward with the Hanna Sentinel, doing her last paper yesterday, which is too bad. I really
It was
thought they
a-
were doing a good job. I liked the paper. I think the community liked the paper, but, guess it wasn't, financially
Feasible.
feasible, and that is a fear in the newspaper business across the board, so. So I will turn it over to you.
It was a
Lori, or-
disappointment, yeah, it was a disappointment to me, to us.
Yeah.
To have the Sentinel decide that they couldn't, have or produce profit in our area and continue with the Sentinel, because we were just felt like we were just getting going.
Yeah.
And, it only been a few months, we were just but can't continue to run at a deficit, we understand that. And so that kind of puts us back to where we were 6 months ago in terms of, how do we get information into the hands of those who rely on the printed word? And, so we had the benefit this time of having had the pilot project that we had run previously with comparing the flyer option that we had done and the use of the ECA review, and then gathering the feedback. And that feedback that was gathered was, I had asked counselors to talk to people when they had heard or talked to people about where did you see that information, staff, just listening to where people were getting their information. So my recommendations are based pretty much on that. It doesn't mean that it can't change, but we have to start somewhere. So looking at our budget, where we're at, what we've done in the past, this is what I'm recommending that we proceed with, starting as soon as we can get our feet under us and get our templates built and get moving with it again. I'll be honest, doing that flyer was a royal pain in the butt, not dealing with the locals here, but dealing with Canada Post, because it's, has to be all done online, but then the staff here doesn't see what we see, and there's a lot of disconnect. So we still have some growing pains that we need to work through there, but we're willing to do that and work on that, and I do believe that's probably our best option to replace the Sentinel. Statutory notices, of course, need to be done in, or we believe should be done in the ECA review. So my recommendation is that we produce a weekly, maybe I'm not gonna commit to 52 weeks a year, because maybe it just doesn't make sense if there's not a lot. And that there's no sense regurgitating the same information for a week if it's not kind of new and spending the money and the time to do it, but I would think we would do at least 50 of the weekly flyers into the mailboxes, and that's not just Hanna, that's what we would consider our outlying trading area. Sometimes we took them as far as the Dewey area, depending on what was in it, more often in the summer, like pool and music in the park and things like that. Sometimes we didn't include the Dewey area, so there, you know, we can juggle that a little bit. Statutory notices in the ECA review as needed. And then I would like to suggest that we cease the production of the bi-monthly newsletter and instead include content that maybe isn't date specific, but more generic. Possibly, maybe one time utility customers get a flyer on how their taxes are calculated, and that is often included in with the tax notice anyways, but it's, we can put a certain number of pages into that utility bill without increasing the postage cost, so it's just a matter of keeping the weight to the right weight and paying for the paper to get additional information in there, but knowing that it's only going to utility customers. My hope would be that we could push the paperless billing a little bit harder then, because some people would not subscribe to the paperless billing because they wanted to get that newsletter in the mail. And that was before we did the electronic news, so yeah, a little bit of.
The
a little
other,
bit of
the other
duplication.
question, Lori, that for clarification, so the flyer that you're recommending, proposing, if I remember correctly from you and Katie's discussion, would be different than the half-page
Yes,
flyer that we put in during that trial. And you're looking at an 8.5 by 11 both side sheet that would go in.
that's right. Yeah, I'd be looking at a full page in color as opposed to a half page. So when we did the trial, we used up a lot of paper that was,
Donated.
well, not only that,
It's colored
but
paper that was left
back in the
over.
day when you make copies on a Gestetner, and the only way to make your stuff attractive was to use colored paper. We had reams of it that you can't just throw it out because it's good. And Summer Fun would use it sometimes for projects and kids, but we still had random pieces of this paper that really had no value. So I said, well, we're gonna use it up. So that is what we did, but we have used it up. So in those 6 months, we got rid of all of those bits and pieces of random colored paper that really nobody uses anymore. So that was good, but it was also very high labor to do it that way, because there was a lot of manual configuring it to fit on the page properly to go through the printer, and then manually cutting them and this would just be better, and it would be a nicer fit. Katie has some ideas on layout that may or may not work. I want her to experiment and see what she thinks she can come up with. This is just shows you what our, it's kind of a historical, what we were paying. I went back to the Hanna Herald. The Sentinel was gracious enough, even though we should have been paying way more for both the two papers based on the size and their advertising rates. They were very good to us over the years, and we had very good rates. So that was the number that I was dealing with, because that's what we've budgeted for a number of years. That's what we spend on a weekly basis, which if you multiply that by 52 is close to
18 to 20,000.
I was gonna say $20,000 a year, and that doesn't include additional things. Like sometimes not everything will fit in and we may have to take additional ad space. And that may still happen. It wouldn't include, Christmas greetings. If we do a special ad in a rodeo edition, things like that. Those are also included in our budget, but they're separate from these numbers that I've provided. So this is what, our expense would be for the remainder of 2024 estimated. This is the estimated staff time to produce. The coffee break and conversations with the owner, we have agreed that it's really not the publication that best meets the needs of the municipality. There is a time and a place for it, and we still would like to use, she does the delivery for us of our newsletters when we put that out 6 times a year. So there are times when we will still use that format, whether it's a summer fun or a brochure, or we'll still use the coffee break, but it won't be a regular commitment. Like it would have been, or like a weekly flyer would be. This just talks a little bit about the pricing difference versus the feedback, versus the time. These are some of the things that we were unable or that we had to pull out when we did the ECA review ads. It was time consuming because even though you might think it's just the same, it's not. It was a different size, it was a different layout, a different format. And we had to make a decision as to some things that had to be removed. So with it being the ECA review and more of a regional format, some things that were very, very specific to Hanna facility hours, closures, statutory holidays, we would have to maybe assume somebody from Castor wouldn't come to Hanna on a statutory holiday, so we wouldn't necessarily post the hours in the ECA review for our facilities. Additional public skating, yes, but so things like that, we would have to make a decision on just because of space restrictions. That is my proposal. With that, I have taken the advertising plan that I use to determine what goes where and updated the matrix at the end, which is used regularly. And more just for, I guess, council's knowledge and information as to where and how these particular things will be promoted. This isn't a new document. You approved this, I'm gonna say August. I think it was August, September,
Might have been a little earlier than that. but
earlier
yeah.
than that. The bylaw was earlier.
Yeah.
I know, this was a little bit later. And so, in the sections above, it explains the different types of things that are included in statutory notices, non-statutory proclamation requests. These are kind of the different categories and where they will show up and they won't show up. We do have the text message notifications. We kind of save that for more
Emergencies.
emergent type things, and it's at the discretion of administration, staff, and Kim, of course, as to what and when it needs to go out. We're still limited in cross-training on that. So we're still working on doing that. And then this was the advertising bylaw that had to be brought in regards to advertising statutory notices that council approved.
So this does allow us to advertise statutory notices in a different format as well, but we just think that it's important that we do the extra on the statutory notices. So I think we're just looking for your feedback, what your thoughts are, how we move forward without the Sentinel. We've given you an idea here, whether you're comfortable with that or whether, there are other options on the table if you really truly believe we need to be in a newspaper weekly. Probably the ECA review is our only option. And again, we were paying just over $400 a week for a quarter page. we got fortunate at the end that because they were in competition with the Sentinel, that they bumped it to a full page for a month or so, at the same price, but, and we
Again,
haven't had,
Newport project.
we haven't had any discussions with the EC review about how we move forward, but, I'm just kind of interested, you guys are counselors, but you're also residents in a community who are trying to get information and what you think would work best.
Also noticed the ECA review reduced Hanna coverage significantly over the last, like, well before the Sentinel come around. Like for the last year for sure. So, I mean, necessary stuff in there. So what's the, as benefit of changing from the newsletter to a flyer with the utilities?
Oh, the newsletter is, well, for me, it's just a regurgitation of information. It's just taking the same information and putting it into an envelope. And it's limited to the people who receive the envelope.
So basically people that pay utilities, so.
the people
Well,
that-
but a lot of people will do it, a portion of people will get theirs e-billed, right, so they won't
Yeah,
get that
yeah.
billing. And the other thing too, it's the same old age, you get the utility billing, you pull out your utility bill and do you look at the insert?
Yeah.
And then
Staff have indicated that frequently people will come in
with their,
with their envelope, pull out the utility bill, and the rest of it just stays at the desk and never gets taken out. They don't even take it home.
But the flyer is the same thing.
The flyers.
flyers the same, flyers the same thing. yeah.
Flyers, what happens with flyers, if you have a no flyer request or whatever it's called at the post office,
Yeah,
then you don't get it. That was part of the hiccup with the base thing, is it was a flyer.
Correct.
And so a lot of people didn't get it, then they were mad because they didn't get it, so.
However, there is a provision with Canada Post that if it is a government publication, it has to be
Okay,
delivered.
so- and that's good, I know that.
But I don't think, no, but I don't think it was something that was being communicated. So like I say, there's lots of work to be done. And lots of little things that we need to work on too with the locals and with Canada Post as a federal agency.
I don't think there's a magic
Well, there's
bullet,
no, that
is
was
my,
easy, but
is my problem.
There is no easy button and it's
Yeah.
gonna take time. It's gonna take.
Yeah,
time to
the
get it
easy
done.
button is if council wants to spend a whole bunch of money, we can do this and we can do that and. But I think we need to be fiscally responsible, yet still trying to ensure we're getting the information out. And yes, a lot of people receive their information through social media. But there are still a segment of our population that rely on printed material and that's what we're trying to capture, how we can best get that printed material information in people's hands, so.
so my opinion, I guess we could try it and see how it works. You know, we don't know until we try it, but I think that it has to be somehow different than just a regular flyer that someone is, you know, they don't even see it and just throw it out.
Well, it will be,
So it has to be.
it will be
it has to-
branded, it will be branded in Hanna logo, Hanna colors, so it
We've
will be
talked about changing
consistent.
the form, you know, going to a heavier paper, more money. We've talked about doing a bifold, more time. We've
Oh, yeah,
talked
you know,
about
I-
different options.
Yeah,
The cheapest, fastest, easiest is one page.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we can spend a little bit more money and change the weight of the paper, for example, then
We should be able to get,
That-
forgive me for my lack of knowledge, we should be able to get a printer that will do a full, correct?
Yeah, just gonna ask when the
our
lease
printer
is-
does a fold, it just is
Okay.
very slow. It just slows it down. Right?
okay.
So right now, if we wanted to spit out the 1,300 units like this, we would do it. It would be like printing the utility bills themselves. But to do a bifold, it slows it down on top.
Yeah.
of the printer for all the staff, so you tend to do like 100 at a time. Not gonna say that we're not gonna try it. We
Yeah,
try it for a month, but,
yeah, I think the
There's
8.5 by
different
11,
options.
I think why not try that, but
I
as
think.
far as the
yeah.
coloring or whatever, it has to stand out a bit. Somehow, in my opinion, so that
I
people.
think people
recognize
were
it differently.
just getting to where they were looking for
Yeah.
it. And that was 6 months.
Well, the bold pink really stood out.
I did like the bright paper.
Yeah, so did I.
Made you
I
look
knew
at it.
exactly what it was.
And maybe we go back to the bright paper, and I don't know, but.
So my view on this, we have to be very gentle to ECA review because we kicked them to the curb.
We did not hold them to the curb. We overdid we did our commitment plus.
Yeah,
We had nothing.
This was just, I
Yes.
felt a little bit concerned that the time, the space, I know it wasn't very much space, but we went, no, we've got a new guy in town, and then the new guy, very few printed materials make, I mean, I could have been a not-for-profit for the 15 years I did my print shop. So to give it 3 or 4 months and then we can't do it, I'm very disappointed in the Hanna Sentinel for doing that. But we have to go back to the ECA review and go, sorry about that, let's try
Yep.
this again.
Yep.
And maybe get a commitment from them that they'll put more effort in to get local news and report something, because really, truly, I stopped reading it because nothing was happening within a 20-kilometer radius.
You have to, and I'm not defending the ECA review, but you have to look at their coverage.
Yeah.
So they're
I
trying to
know.
cover a huge, we want stuff in Hanna, but they're all the way at
They want us to
Bashaw
send
and
it to
Alex and Stetler and
Janelle,
Castor Coronation Concert. Delia, like they've got such a huge area that they're trying to cover that it's probably hard for them to
Yeah.
spend and, spend that on Hanna,
And
so.
a coffee break is a wonderful addition to our community. I'm so glad it's around. Karen does an amazing job. And again, what we're trying to do is get the word out, but also sustain what little businesses we have left. And by just, again, terrible wording, I apologize, Lori, kick them to the curb and say, we're not going to use the coffee break at all. Well, we're not supporting another local business that really puts fantastic news, like little quips and photographs of people's grandkids. And I thoroughly enjoy it. And it is online. So I don't have access to get a physical copy, but I go read it every time it comes out on social
I'm
media.
not suggesting that we don't use them at all. They will fill a need for us.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be a regular weekly. It would be my proposal. It wouldn't be a regular weekly.
Because they don't have
Coffee
the
break.
space for that.
Well, I'm sure they would make the space. if we
Well,
committed.
they make the
The
space.
deadlines are a little bit.
Yeah.
Are they? Couple of weeks? Oh, okay. And ECA review's the same. It's a couple of weeks, is it not?
No, it's not too bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a kind of a mutual agreement that the coffee break isn't necessarily
It's
the
not
place
their
for
forte.
our. It's not their forte, no, it
Yeah.
never was to begin with.
No.
And we can throw them something, she's happy with that, and it's always been, it's an option, not paid advertising, but if we are able to provide, an article, when we provide the mayor's message, it's always printed. If we
Oh,
provide
okay.
article type information, she's very happy and willing to
Gotcha.
print. If she chooses.
Thank you.
So we are
Yeah,
we will be going back,
It's
and I don't know if this is
critical
the
that we
right
work with the local media.
term cap in hand,
Yes.
the ECA review, but I think the ECA review
Well,
will need to understand
I've
that,
talked with them already.
Okay.
Have you-
So
okay.
there'll be an ad in the paper this week when the ECA review comes out. I don't feel like it's a cap in hand.
Okay.
It's a business decision, same as it was before.
Yeah.
Yes, we did get a little bit of a discount from them, not a significant discount,
No.
absolutely not a significant discount. And there was no commitment to them at all at any point. We verbally said we would like to do a 6-month trial period. So when the Sentinel came in and we worked out a really good deal and wanted to support the Sentinel, it was, council agreed with me and the
Yeah.
CAO that let's honor that verbal thing with the ECA review. Let's continue this.
even though the Sentinel was
Even though the
producing, we kept with
Yeah,
them for a
that's
month or
all.
two
Yeah.
after.
Sentinel
Yeah,
Perfect.
so
It was the
it was
perfect
very, very
newspaper.
good of ECA review to do that
Yes.
for us. She did not need to. Nobody asked them to increase our ad space and size. And there is a need. There is a need for ECA review, absolutely. And
Well, and the
we will be
ECA,
using them.
yeah, the ECA review is an interesting publication, I'll use that term. I find that there's a lot of stuff that doesn't fit me. So I've gotten to the point, I am at the point where it goes on the counter. And if there's nothing else going wrong on TV or whatever, I'll
You
pick
take
it
a
up and
glance.
look at it.
Yeah, me too.
With the Hanna Sentinel, I actually made a point to look at it. The coffee break, it's interesting, I have numerous people drop one off for me, I just as a, hey, have you seen this kind of thing, and Karen stops in the shop quite regularly, so it's a niche thing. And I don't think it's the proper carrier for what we're trying to accomplish. I just, the Sentinel thing kind of almost rubs me in a bad way.
Oh, me
Is
too.
it-
Oh,
In the fact that, they didn't, and I'm not saying didn't give it a go, but I think there's ways of doing things, like maybe they combine, because I believe they're doing the Orion Echo, is that what they're doing?
yeah, they're doing the.
Do it as a one paper and instead of doing two separate publications,
Yeah.
Maybe something to look at is the Drum Mail, maybe that's something that they'd be interested in, is doing one publication with two coverages.
Yeah.
I don't, the advertising thing is so bizarre for me, because like I pick up parcels at the post office and I go to the back to pick them up, and there are literally stacks and stacks and stacks of flyers and publications and stuff that are still in the original bundles that someone has paid for.
Yeah.
But due to restrictions on the post office boxes, they just sit there. And I don't know.
I'm gonna explain a little bit of that, because in our case, in order to get the flyers into the boxes that we wanted them to get into, we would have to provide print bundle 1,500, I'm just gonna pull numbers out of the air, because that was a few months ago now.
No, that's fine.
Approximately 1,500 units,
Yeah.
right? And have them bundled accordingly. And then when I talk about Canada Post and the staff, then the staff would phone and say, Lori, don't give us 1,500, give us 1,200, because we're just throwing 300 away. But the website won't let me.
You
do
have
that.
to do 1,500, exactly.
I have to go into the website. and do
Okay, and
1,500.
again, that's my
So-
lack of knowledge, so.
Yeah, it's really, unless, I believe we'll get to the point where we can do that and bundle our 1,200, we'll still have to pay for 1,500.
But we're
but
not producing
still,
300.
Yeah,
We're saving
yeah,
on that.
but I mean, that's where I say there's still some growing pains and some bugs to be worked out, and a lot of that is between us and the staff here doing how they do their job and what can the post expects, yes.
So to take this one step further, then I guess, is there a better suited printer to do that we could allocate to that project? Like, can we rent something, lease something, buy something that would do what we're looking to do without tying up?
Our printer was pretty top of the line when we got it, and we got a heck of a deal.
Yeah, no, I'm just,
For
Yeah,
an
there-
office, it's not a production printer, it's an office printer, of course.
The other option too is going to our local business to see what type of cost they would want
generate.
to generate that for us, printing it, and whether they can, the timelines that they would need things by to turn around. So that's a discussion to be had as well. But are you, I guess, looking just for consensus, are you comfortable with what we proposed? My concern always is consistency. So I know Lori had mentioned we may not do flyer all the time, but I would my recommendation, we would try to do one as much of the time as we can, because people get consistency and they start to look at that. And I know Lori said we might, maybe around Christmas, we don't do as many or whatever, but people who use look at that print material and they'll be going to the post office. They know it comes out every Thursday and they'll be looking for that, those that do. And just like those that look in the newspaper, for their information, they know we're on page 4 or whatever page, they'll look to that page, and go through there. So that was the nice part about the consistency, in the newspaper, but we can't, probably afford to do that. So it tends to get lost. I think some of our advertising will tend to get lost in the ECA review because we're not consistent, but it is what it is.
And it's the senior community in particular that may not be able to navigate the social media stuff as easily online and like a tangible.
But yeah, I would say the senior population is probably predominant. And even the other population, I think that's a little bit predominant is those that may not have, as much money because they don't have a computer at home. I know that even people who are struggling financially still have their phone, and will get social media stuff through their phone, but some people won't have a computer at home to use, or a tablet or whatever, but,
And they go to the library, and that's a wonderful.
yeah, it's a wonderful resource. So again, it's not a perfect solution. I thought, again, like you guys, the Sentinel was a great solution and was working well, but that option has been removed.
So quickly.
So and that was the other thing that was
I think it's.
we knew a week before.
That's just.
My last session's gonna be next week.
Sorry, I tried. What?
It wasn't, it's not looking good. I'm gonna have to wind down in 3 months and
There
give you a
might have
little
been
bit of
other
time, so.
issues that they were dealing
That's
with
what
as
I'm
well,
thinking.
that-
Possibly.
Yeah.
That just, they had no other.
And I don't know what they would have done. Again, it's not my business. I don't know what they would have done for content if they wouldn't have got Gwen on to start writing articles.
Yeah.
Because she basically was the content in the paper,
It was
The
awesome.
local content.
the local content in the paper. Any other comments, questions?
I think give it a try.
Mr.
and
Mayor,
see.
Did have a question, in regards to I'm just curious how long it takes to print those 1,500 flyers in-house. Like, are we looking at a day's worth of printing? Are we looking at
It says
3 hours?
6 hours.
No, that's our production time. That's the time
Okay,
to set it up. Printing, I'm gonna say less than a morning. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
between 1 and 3 hours.
Okay, 1 to 3 hours, okay.
And that's just the copier doing its thing with no staff.
Yeah.
Just
So it
have to
would be-
fill it with paper every now and again.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's still, and I just actually want to make a comment. There seems to be some lack of enthusiasm of the East Central review, but quite honestly, I've appreciated the overview of the other communities that they have in the East Central review. I know there has been some lack of contact from the Hanna area, but hearing what's going on in the rest of our communities around us, I mean, we do an outreach too. I've appreciated that from the East Central review. And I guess I'm in favor of the flyers, specifically reaching those that are not connected digitally. I think that's very important. I happen to fit into that probably that senior category too. I like the tangible piece of paper, even though I have digital access, but there's something about getting that piece of paper and having it before you. And I want to be able to make sure that we connect with those that definitely don't have that digital access.
okay, thank you, Councilor Ward.
so Mr. Mayor, the only comment I would make is rather than the motion that's there, wasn't thinking and didn't catch it off the beginning. So this is an information meeting, so we're technically not to be making decisions. So what I would rather do in this situation is just say, the motion would be to accept the advertising plan amendment report for information and direct administration to bring the plan back to the February 13th council meeting for approval.
I could do that.
Counselor also like to make that motion? All in favor? Gary,
In
I
favor.
was wondering.
Yeah. You'll probably see this same document at
Oh,
the
it's
next
fine.
council meeting, but.
And the bylaw will be the same.
Yeah, bylaw would, that doesn't change.
Okay, anything else?
It's roundtable, so.
Yeah.
I had approached, the CAO regarding a, resident that works in the pharmacy. And they're concerned about people trying to get across from the parking lot. From Friesen Brother, or if they're walking along the sidewalk and then, heading to the, pharmacy. Whether or not a crosswalk, a marked crosswalk would be feasible. And I said, well, I'll bring it to council. And I did ask them to submit something in writing as well. They've seen a few people that have been trying to get across, and some people don't stop, whether or not it's a high traffic area, appears to be at times. And so I just thought I would bring it to council just for some feedback.
Yeah, it was brought to me before I was even actually sworn in. I talked to, Friesen Brothers, and they kind of suggested that why would they provide a parking lot for their competition?
Yeah, well,
And,
it has nothing to do with Friesen Brother. You know, you've got.
Oh, but Friesen Brothers has a pharmacy in their store.
No, I realize that, but also you get, people from the lodge that are taking the new pathway down along the
Yeah.
sidewalk to get down there, and then, there's no way to get across safely. The same as if you get people from the manors coming down the sidewalk and everything, so they aren't necessarily,
no, it was
parking.
just a comment that was made. I'm just,
Yeah, no, and I'm just adding to it, that was the impression that I got is with the senior availability and accessing that one as well, that if it would be something that would be considered, so.
I said to Councillor Bowden, I said, I think if you're going to do a crosswalk there for safety purposes, it should be a lit crosswalk. And the last time I wanted a lit crosswalk and I had a vision and a plan, backfired.
Yeah.
But I do think there we could go with a traditional crosswalk if we wanted, similar to the one that's there at the Canada Grace. So it's just lighting up both sides if someone wants to cross. It is a wide street, and it does, it would be a mid-block crossing. I would think. I don't think it would be a crossing you'd want to put at the corner because there's no sidewalk on the other side. So.
And there's no sidewalk to get it to the pharmacy.
Right,
area.
from
You
there,
go into
yeah.
the parking lot, so it would be a tricky thing. It's
So
just to get
it's
feedback.
just want feedback, what your thoughts are, if you think it's something that's important and should be done. I just fear we could put a crosswalk down and paint a crosswalk and put a standard sign there. But I don't know, if that's the best at the end of the day, because speeds in that area too can be
accelerate.
fairly significant. They've had some time and space to get some speed, so.
Most of the problems I've seen there, and of course I did live there, so I got to see it on a regular basis, is the PharmaSafe parking lot has traffic that backs into the road
Yeah, that's.
to their parking lot, which I think is absolutely asinine. And most of the problems are people backing out, someone's turning out of Friesen Brothers and someone's coming. And it's gonna be a matter of time before there's several collisions. I don't know where the bylaw came in that allowed backing into, you have to back into the road.
Yeah.
Those 6 strips should be removed.
Yeah.
No parking
Just
there
on
at all.
Yeah, I'm
Because
not-
that's where the
I'm
problem.
not sure, but when that building was built, the development authority at the time approved parking there. I agree with you 100%. It is you have to be very aware and very cautious.
And that's
when
the
you're-
handicap parking, so these are the seniors going to get,
Yeah, they
and
can't see.
some of them can't see well, some of them just say, I'm just going for it, and they just go. They don't, they just assume other people will stop for them. That is where the problem is, and to put a crosswalk anywhere near there, someone's gonna get hit by a backing up car.
Possibly, yeah.
That's.
So then you gotta go back to the corner. I don't know if that can be changed,
Unless
I
you
don't
have-
wanna be involved in
Unless you
it.
have them coming in and parking facing the access door, along that way where they have to back out and then.
Yeah,
go out. But
That part's
Yeah.
great, but the
Yeah.
front,
the front is awful.
that's just a very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
That's no difference in parking at the post office, same way, it's
Same adventure.
the same adventure. Because
Except you're on private property backing into a roadway.
But the whole thing is, it's safe because people are driving at the post office coming the wrong way, turning,
Yeah.
and it's,
But that's a traffic violation.
Yeah.
Whether or not they want to enforce it, it's a traffic
Yeah.
violation. This is backing out of private property, not one vehicle, but 7 or 8 at a time, and it's a mess. And as I said, I lived there, I saw
Yeah,
it every.
no, I agree. It is
I always
not
make the
ideal.
effort to park in the very far west one,
Yeah.
so that nobody decides you don't have to try and peek around.
Or park on the east side of it or something.
Yeah.
I go all the way to the side.
No, it's not,
The best
Good.
design.
but it is what it is, so we have to make do, you can't change it.
I think the business and the business owners, I think, would be very unhappy if we remove the front parking because the building's just not built to access very easily from any other direction, so.
Well, and what happens if somebody does get hit?
An expert, but if you do get hit, whoever's
but just being
backing up would be
proactive.
liable, so.
that's the.
But just,
And then you gotta look at all the, houses that are along that, they're backing out onto the same thing.
Right, but
So,
those are usually one car at a time.
Yeah,
Where I'm
yeah.
concerned is that it's so many stalls. And some of them are so narrow that if you have a long truck, you're actually in the road.
There is,
I think there are
the
lots of
difference,
longer.
a lot of significant difference. Yes, people will back out of their driveways, but the car movements at PharmaSave are significantly more, and that's where the potential is there. I agree wholeheartedly. It's not ideal, and I know if I'm there and I'm backing up, I'm very cognizant of that. But it isn't great.
If we go back to the crosswalk, I don't see the point. I mean, the key words we've had in this conversation is being cognizant, being aware. It's pretty important. We also got a crosswalk done by our president. It's made 0 difference.
Yeah.
0. I mean, I could be out there in a high vis vest, people don't stop.
No.
I've had people even stop, and then when I wait for the other side, they finally stop, I start to go, this person gets tired of waiting and starts to go, and
Yeah.
it's not useful.
Yeah, you
Unless you
can't force
put
people to stop.
much stronger traffic control there, and I don't see the purpose.
Even the crosswalk from, coming up Third by Lutheran Church, it's fairly well marked, and it's amazing how many people you come up to the corner and there's somebody standing there and you stop to let them cross, and the other side, there's no stop.
no, there's no stop.
So a crosswalk is a magical thing. We have the 3 of them in this block over here, and people still jaywalk, lots of them. So
People control is an impossible thing.
No, it's, yeah. No, it's something, if somebody wants to bring a presentation to us and with it, we'll definitely look at it. I think that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, Like I
That's
said,
all I was doing.
yeah, no, it's awesome stuff. And like I said, I got it brought to me and I did the same thing. And then I talked to Breeze Brothers about it and they politely said, well, why would we provide a parking lot for our competition? I went,
Yeah.
never even thought about that part. I mean, like I didn't.
Yeah.
So, Counselor Olson, anything new and exciting?
Nope,
No? Counselor Murphy,
all good.
all good? Counselor Thurl?
Oh, we had our community service board meeting. It was short and sweet. There's a lot of people out sick and the only stuff that was basically talked about is our next meeting. We're going to be discussing the rates for all
Facilities.
the facilities and everything. And that'll be on March 20,
The last Monday. of
the
March,
last
yeah.
Monday.
And I've got nothing other than I'm going to the mayor's caucus in March. And going to Alberta Health Services meeting the 7th of February in Drumheller.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So I know that there was one in Oyen, I believe, last Friday. And the other ones in our region are in Drumheller and Stellar. I did submit our name. We didn't get chosen, unfortunately. But if you do want to provide some feedback on the health system, certainly take up one of those opportunities if you can. So I'm not sure when the one in Stellar, is it the same day?
Not sure.
You said February 7th?
The Acadia Foundation, I did want to make a quick mention. There will be up to 50 residents by mid-February from a record low of 30. And a lot of that can be contributed to our new CAO, who's fabulous, and empowering the managers to actually make decisions instead of micromanaging. The managers have just gone with it and our resident count has gone up tremendously. And that's wonderful because the federal government funding has ended.
So a question about that. Thank you for bringing that topic up. So at our community services board meeting, one of the questions that was asked, it's not in our purview, but in the roundtable, one of our members said that she had heard that the room that was set aside for contract nurses
Yeah,
was no longer available for that purpose
in Hanna,
in Hanna.
we actually never had a room for
Okay.
contract
Okay.
nurses. Because the Alberta Health Services in Oyen, for example, and in Consort, they actually, Alberta Health Services paid for the rooms.
Okay,
For 2 years, they paid in advance, beautiful. So any contract nurses that came in, got there. Oyen, same thing. We were prepaid for these rooms. The nurses come and go. It's wonderful. We have absolutely no support from Alberta Health Services for Hanna.
for the.
We are not invited to any of the meetings. We have no way to even communicate with them. It's horrendous. And because of that, there was no need for a room, because if there's a room, the contract nurse coming in would have to pay themselves.
Okay.
But we do have a room available for guests. And on occasion, if a contract nurse actually showed up and paid out of their pocket, but that's not the business we want to be in.
No,
So what we ended up doing is having it available for guests who come in. The odd respite care, if it's over 3 or 4 weeks and they're functioning, they just can't be at home because they live in far distance. But we just don't want to turn into landlords.
okay, no, and that's fair. I know there's always two sides to every
And
story
Alberta
that you
Health.
hear and just that comment was raised and I forgot about it until you
Yeah.
mentioned the lodge, so.
And if we had contract nurses that actually came out in Alberta Health Services, paid for it, but for some reason, we lack advocacy here. I just don't know how to get it.
So I'm just, I don't
So where
know,
are the contract nurses staying now? They must be paying for it themselves.
At a hotel.
no, I know that, for example, at the Abbey, they have some rooms
Oh,
that
okay.
our contract nurses live in and Alberta Health pays those.
So that's where they chose to be instead of lodge. But they have the room in Oyen. There is nothing you can rent. It's hard to even buy in Oyen right now. In Concord, lots of places to rent, but they really needed the nurses to come out. So that's what they did. is
I'm
they
wondering, and I think concert, and I'm looking at Sandra because she's been involved a little bit. The concert's in the David Thompson, is it? Is it in the David
yeah.
Thompson? How
Yeah.
Because I know Oyens not.
No,
No.
So
Yeah,
I
they're
wondered if
South
concert
region.
and Oyen were in South region and that's why they were getting
The preferential.
more reception or more advocacy with their health
It's-
district than we
it's
were,
just
but.
enviable. We just don't, we
think
mentioned
Ken-
that a few times, we just don't have. There is a meeting for the medical center and we have a rep on there, but there's no long-term care or hospital representation from this board, nothing. And I find that just atrocious, you know.
Ken, what is his name?
Ken
Yeah.
Hansen.
Yeah,
Hansen.
I think he's sitting on the.
Yes.
Yeah.
on that.
Ken is now, so that might be something if it was. You might wanna have a discussion with Ken and say. And again, Ken's not affiliated with Alberta Health Services
No,
or the hospital, but quite often I'll hear. The grapevine out on the street that there's no rooms for contract nurses that can't find any rooms. Well, no one's asked me, I don't know what the market is out there. I know Prairie Land is seriously looking at potentially building some teacherages in town because they indicate that for some of their teachers that are moving here, there's not any good rentable space.
Well, in Oyen, we did the same thing. We have 2 rooms. They had so many empty rooms that they furnished 2 rooms for teachers.
Okay,
So there's a phys ed teacher that comes in twice a week and there's another teacher. Because the teacher's saying, I can't come here. There's nowhere for me to live. So that's what we did, and we are more than happy to do that here as well. They could just contact the lodge,
okay,
and we would accommodate. But again, through Prairie Land,
Yeah.
not through the teacher
That's right.
directly,
yeah.
and awesome.
How
Absolutely.
so when you say you've got 50 residents?
Yes.
What percentage of rooms does that mean are occupied? Do you know?
So 50,
it
I
be
didn't bring my.
60%,
I
70%?
think that brought us up to 70%.
Okay.
So the 3rd floor is basically empty.
Okay. Okay,
So
Yeah, I thought
nice
they,
and quiet.
I'm sorry, I thought they had kind of approved all that, you know, there was discussion a while back about modifying a floor to allow for rental and stuff.
Yes.
And I never did realize that,
It was
It never was
mostly
approved.
Oyen, because
but for Hannah, that was what my understanding.
Hanna has unfortunately, so what happened for the last decade is the CAO lived in Consort. So everything fabulous happened in Consort. And the rest of the managers and chairs lived in Oyen. So everything fabulous happened in Oyen. And Hanna was left out of everything. And that changed only when the CAO was replaced by someone who was born and raised in Hanna and was a teacher in Oyen for 30 years. Great choice, and has changed the dynamic. And I think more things are going to happen. But I was a thorn in the side of the chief administrative officer because I put my hand up and say, what about Hanna? And I got screamed at, yelled at, almost kicked out a few times because I rubbed them the wrong way by saying, you have to stop ignoring the good people in this town. We're the biggest of the 3 towns
Exactly.
and we got nothing.
Well, I think because it was David Thompson, may have had a.
Part of
huge
that, and again, we have no connection with Alberta Health, so I went to the last meeting last week and said, okay, about how am I supposed to communicate this to our Alberta Health people? I don't even know who they are. And outside of Ken, thank goodness we have Ken, we have no idea who these people even are. And it's just so frustrating. I'm not sure how to fix it. But the SL3, for example, which was going to take the entire floor and turn it into supportive living for people who could be in a lodge if they had access to nursing care. We're on year 2. Everything's ready. We just need the staff from Alberta Health to show up. And the unions are fighting us all the way. So the staff have said no, and we're on year 2. The rooms are empty, we're ready to go. It would actually have the long-term care. Half of those people would function very well in supportive living 3 or supportive living 4, and would allow for someone to have a broken hip and be in long-term care the next day. Now there's 2 months sitting in a hospital like my mother did. So that would happen immediately if they had the staff to cover the 24-hour nursing shifts in the lodge.
Yeah, and they have a hard time, they're understaffed at the hospital, so.
Understaffed, and the
So-
ones that are there saying, I'm not working nights.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
tired.
Yeah, they
I got,
put in,
you know, yeah.
yeah, their seniority.
Okay,
and
no,
stuff.
that's interesting, so.
That's where we're at. And then once it's happened in Noyan, Hannah's next. We are on the list, and Dana has done an incredible job. Dina, as the manager, she's really kicked things into gear. She's got new staff in. It's been going very, very well. So I'm very hopeful.
Well, that's nice to know, because
Yeah. It was awful.
we hadn't heard anything else. before.
And people weren't going into the lodge because of that micromanaged, very toxic environment, but it's been fixed.
A food environment is the physical presence of diet.
That's $50 for the SBC, right?
I don't even know, I didn't even touch it.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so we'll adjourn, what is it there, 10:45,
41.
21?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you, Ange.
Thank you. I had nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.